Okay, welcome everyone. We're happy you're with us today for today's webinar. Just going to cover a couple of little housekeeping items before we get started. We do have our attendees on mute throughout the presentation, but if you have questions, you can submit those through the Q&A button, or feel free to use the chat button as well. We will send out a link to the recording as well as the PowerPoint and additional resources after this webinar. That'll probably go out tomorrow, so be on the lookout. That will come from the IES Zoom user at ncsu.edu. So if you do not receive it, you might check your spam filter, but it should be in there. And today's speaker is Kian Hogue, my colleague at NC State's Industry Expansion Solution. And with that, Kian, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Susan. So as Susan said, I'm Kian Hogue, and I'm the Director of Data Management Systems, Supplier Matching, and Reporting at Industry Expansion Solutions. And joining me today is my colleague, Eric Taylor. And Eric, if you'll say hello and introduce yourself.
Hey, good afternoon or good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Taylor. I'm the Supply Chain Optimization Specialist here at IES, North Carolina State IES, and I am glad to meet all of you.
So just really, it looks like we have a lot to cover, but I promise we'll be able to get it in our hour time frame. So first of all, we want to talk about just really briefly who we are, why we're talking about this topic, why local sourcing. We're going to give an overview of the program, some resources and takeaways, how you can participate in it, and then some Q&A. So most of you may know us as Industry Expansion Solutions. We're part of the College of Engineering. We've been working with manufacturers and other industries since 1955, and we provide a variety of solutions to help improve competitiveness and operations for our industries in North Carolina. We have a statewide presence with our regional managers, several of whom are on this webinar, and we'll have a link to them later on as well. So if you have any questions or have any needs, you can contact them. As well as being Industry Expansion Solutions, we also are the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We are part of a federal program that's under the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, which is part of the Department of Commerce at the federal level, and they provide funds for programs in every state in Puerto Rico to support small and medium-sized manufacturers. And the map on this slide shows the partners that we have, names that will be familiar to many of you, to again help us with that statewide reach in North Carolina to reach as many manufacturers as possible. Now, being part of the MEP program, administering the grant for North Carolina, the national program has three main pillars in addition to overall support for manufacturers. And their strategic pillars are around workforce development, technology adoption, and supply chain resiliency, which is what we'll be talking about today, why we can bring this program to you. So first of all, why local sourcing? We know that the pictures on this slide could almost encompass everything that's going on when we talk about local sourcing. We've got the Baltimore Bridge collapse. We've got the huge, on the right, we've got the huge pile of discarded clothing that ended up in South America. We've got the trouble that in the early part of the year and that's still continuing around the Suez Canal. And then we've got also earthquakes that happened in Taiwan. And that is kind of just a perfect example of why local sourcing. So we learned from COVID, of course, that our supply chains are very vulnerable, and that has not changed. What it brought us is that awareness, and what we have learned since COVID has receded is that our supply chains still aren't stabilizing. Yes, we can find things on grocery shelves. Yes, we are.
And I believe we have lost you.
I'll pick it up from that point right there.
Okay, Eric, thank you.
All right, we were talking about the supply chain and some of the issues that we are having with the supply chain right now. We had the Baltimore Bridge incident. We had, everybody can see right here where it's showing the workforce portion and the Baltimore Bridge now. We're discussing as to the problems that we have with the shipping and going through the Suez Canal, and how much longer it's taking to move the materials from portions of the world. It may be taking up to 48 days in some areas, and it's taking a lot longer, maybe twice as long, to transport materials from different locations in the world. Then we have the earthquake that happened in Taiwan, which that right there that caused a slowdown in the processes of moving things forward. All right, COVID supply chain. Why local sourcing? What we found out with COVID pretty much shut down the whole supply chain. We had ships that was in ports, we had materials that could not be moved fast enough, and then we found out where we were vulnerable in our supply chain. And that caused us more problems with our sourcing of materials and getting materials there on time and having it readily available for the supply chain to operate. Uh, Stabilizing supply chains. It also brings your materials closer to you, which it allows organizations to have the materials right there at their hand and closer to their facilities. If you have a material that is being sourced from a plane trip, that's a risk. If you have a supplier that is within a 4-hour drive, that's a relationship that you have built right there. Globalization. With globalization, you have political unrest, you have natural disasters, relationships, and economics that cause problems. You have Department of Defense, and then you have tariffs that will slow down the supply chain. But if you have your materials right here within the United States, within the state, that is a good thing because it's right there available for you. And you can talk to your supplier directly versus having to work around the time zone problems. Perception, it works with your sustainability and it helps your organization to be more functional all the way around. It keeps the local area, the local economy is stable. Reliability, as I said, it's right there for you if you need those materials. Risk mitigation, it reduces your risk, as I said before. If it's a plane ride away from you, that's right there risk. But if it's a relationship that is right there within a couple of hours, that's a relationship and it's easy deal. And diversification, you can deal with multiple suppliers and right here within the area, and it doesn't cause any problems. Kian, are you good now?
I hope so. I apologize. I'm not exactly sure what happened. It just went blank. So that might be another risk, cyber threats.
Yes. Kian, can I interrupt one moment? We did have a
Yes.
request in the Q&A if we could show this full screen. So do it as a
Yes, we can
slideshow,
see.
please. Thank
Yes.
you.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. And you're going to hear more from Eric in a few more minutes as well. So there's some specific incentives to do local sourcing. So first of all, when we think about local sourcing, there are stronger supplier relationships. It's a lot easier to build that relationship if the supplier is only an hour away or even a few minutes away, or even a very, very, very short car trip or plane ride away versus having to go across the ocean, go to Europe, go to Asia, go somewhere else where time zones are different and it's just more difficult to build that relationship with them. And stronger relationships also enable you to have more transparency into what's going on into your supplier. Are the conditions good? Are there any business issues? Are they able to produce what they say that they're going to be able to produce? And then you can work with them to help mitigate any problems that they're experiencing, which can only benefit your supply chain. As well, reduce costs. One key issue right now is freight is very expensive. It's very expensive with the various transportation issues on the various canals and the various oceans and the various ways to get it from Europe or Asia. It's very expensive. Plus, if there are delays, it's going to take a lot longer to get to you and it's going to cost a lot more. So ultimately, having the supply chain more local to you will reduce the overall costs that you have, as well as a faster response. If you have a problem, it's a lot easier for you to either to go to your supplier, to call your supplier and say, I'm having a problem with this. Can we increase the amount that you're producing, or could you decrease because the market's changed? They can respond more quickly to your needs and to the needs of your market. As well, it can result in opportunities for collaboration and flexibility. You can work with your supplier to make changes that you need to the product that they're producing to you, or perhaps to even develop a new product to meet your needs. Sustainability, and we really can't emphasize that enough, especially as consumers are becoming more and more aware of where the products are made and how they're made. they're becoming less inclined to ignore the environmental footprints, environmental impacts of how long it takes a product to get here. What is that impact on the environment? And that is something that is becoming very important, and they're using that to make purchasing decisions. And this is a biggie: community support. A lot of people enjoy the fact of knowing that they are supporting their local community when they have local suppliers. They are keeping jobs. They're helping to create and maintain jobs within their local communities. And people are pointing to that as a source of pride, that they're located in their community. They're helping to become a good community partner. They're helping to support their community. And what we have found as we've talked about this program over the last year is there's a lot of enthusiasm for sourcing locally. A lot of people are very interested in, how is it possible for me to be able to source locally, not just in the United States, but, maybe in my state or even in my backyard. And we're finding that there's a lot that we don't know, and that other manufacturers don't know about who's close to them and what could be made here. And so there's a lot of interest, and we're very pleased to be able to bring this program to all the manufacturers in North Carolina to say, yes, it is possible. We can do that. And there are some big reasons why we feel North Carolina, when it comes to diversification, which is a key reason to try to mitigate all those supplier risks that we talked about. There are some major reasons why North Carolina is well suited to be able to provide local sourcing. Oh.
And if I might interrupt one moment, folks are
Yes.
still seeing it as with the speaker notes.
Oh,
Can
I
we
thought I
put
seen it.
this? Yeah,
There we go.
there we go.
So
Awesome.
there are
Thank
all
you.
sorts of gremlins about in the computers. So thank you for that. So for local sourcing for our establishments, North Carolina, we have 11,000 manufacturers. We have a lot of manufacturers in North Carolina. We employ 471,000 people in manufacturing, and it's the third highest sector in the state. It contributes 16% to the state's GDP. And it contributes almost 4% to the nation's GDP. And when it comes to manufacturing, we rank 8th in the nation, and we are first in the Southeast. And I'm proud to say we have been first in the Southeast for a long time. When it comes to wages, manufacturing remains one of the highest paid sectors. The average weekly wage is around $1,330 a week, or $33 an hour. And most of the manufacturers in North Carolina are small. They have fewer than 100 employees. And when it comes to subsectors, we have every type of manufacturing represented in North Carolina, every type. And of those subsectors, fabricated metal has the largest number of establishments, followed by food and then printing. And then as far as employment for manufacturing, food ranks the highest, chemical and fabricated metal are second and third, and those remain consistent. But the bottom line is that we have a lot of variety of manufacturing. We can make a lot of things in this state, and we feel that this can only help us provide these local sourcing opportunities and to fulfill the local sourcing needs. So before we turn to how the program works, I just very briefly want to talk about the program background. As I said, we are the North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program for North Carolina. We're part of NIST MEP. They provided funding to focus out of COVID to focus exclusively on domestic supply chains and how we can build the supply chain resiliency for manufacturing in the country. This is, and you don't hear this often, this is a free, no-cost program. We provide these services to you. We will help find suppliers. We will help qualify and vet the suppliers. We'll do other research for you, and this is a free, no-cost service. You do have to put up, however, with mine and Eric's enthusiasm. Hopefully, that's a selling point. That's a feature. So what we're going to talk about as far as the ways that you can get involved in this, we have our supplier scouting process. We have an online supplier database. There are a few more things, but those are the two big parts. And so who does this? Our supplier matching team, which right now consists of myself and Eric, and primarily Eric when it comes to supplier matching. We have our other NCMEP partners across the state, but also I want to emphasize you. You help us do this because you help us, your business, other manufacturers, you can connect with other manufacturers. And so we really also rely on you to help make this program a success. So with that, I will now turn it back over to Eric. And just let me know, Eric, next slide when you're ready.
All right. Good morning once again, everyone. Part program area for supplier matching is for existing and new industries. You can have a research and development company that is right here reaching out to other organizations to find suppliers and manufacturers to build research and development items. And then you have in the existing industries that are trying to reshore their materials back to the US and actually build into the infrastructure of the US. You have the state and national opportunities that's out there, but it's often it's business to business relationships, and then there's reshoring. To become a supplier, it's not a hard process at all. It's just basically contacting us and letting us know, hey, we are out here. There's our site that is manufactured in North Carolina. What it does, it allows us to see you at the MEP, but it also works as free advertisement for yourself because it works for your company where everybody can see it on the internet. Hey, this business right here produce these widgets. This may be something that I need. They can contact you directly, or they can contact us and we can reach out to you. But if there's a supplier scouting opportunity, if I can't see you, I can't reach out to you. And if I don't know you're there, I can't reach out to you. And that cannot bring revenue to your organization and basically keep you in business. Economic development, it really helps across the board where it opens up opportunities right here in the local and the national level. And there's federal procurement also. There's federal agencies that are looking for suppliers with Build America, Buy America Act in action right now. The US is basically, the government is bringing those materials back to the US, and it has to be built in the US before it can go out to the final the end user. Large nationwide opportunities that we've had multiple that come down. We had the Top So that came down. That was a Danish company that was in the later part of 2023. They reached out to an organization, our counterparts in Oklahoma, and they if you hit the link when the slides are sent to you, it can show you the whole article on it, but it tells how they resource or source the materials and manufacturers to build products. It came at a bad time. It came at the end of the year in November, going into the holiday period of December, when the outreach occurred. It reached out to all these organizations. North Carolina had the highest number of suppliers and manufacturers that responded. We had the highest numbers to go forward in the process. And then North Carolina still right now, out of 51 MEPs, 50 states and Puerto Rico, we still have a strong number that's still moving forward. As last time I checked, I believe it was 4 that are still moving forward in the process to work with the organization. And that's a great thing that we can say, hey, and during that time period, a lot of our companies went forward. They did one-on-one with them down in Texas, and it was a great opportunity and it worked out. So if you need to participate in this program, I'm here to tell anybody it works. Next slide, please. Okay, you have multiple government agencies that's out there that's looking for federal procurement opportunities. There's the EPA, the Department of Energy, you have Commerce, you have the Veteran Affairs, which they were looking for CPAP machines out here a couple of months ago. You have the ITA, International Trade Organization, Department of Treasury, NOAA, HHS, which they were looking for masks at one point, and they're still looking for stuff out there. Department of Defense is always out there asking for it. Department Interior and USDA. With the Build America, Buy America Act, government agencies have to use this right here. Materials made in the US and manufactured in the US and produced in the US before it can go forward to the end user. It's a big deal. This brings everybody back into the fold in the US, where manufacturing is back here in the US, and it helps out across the board, where it allows the small organizations and the medium-sized organizations to be engaged with the rest of the United States as far as building the materials. Next slide, please. Okay, the program area, supplier matching process, inquiries. Inquiries and request forms, very easy to deal with. We basically get the information and find out what your organization's capabilities and your capacities is, because sometimes the problem is with our organizations, when they complete compete in supplier scouting. They may have the capabilities, but they do not have the capacity to produce as many widgets. But it does not knock you out of contingency for that allows us to know where there's weaknesses in our supply chain throughout the U.S. and we go forward. Distribution is pushing it out to everybody, making sure everything goes forward. Connection and matchmaking. That's the big thing right there is if your organization can do it, but you just don't have the capacity, I'll send it up as a partial. And with a partial match, it'll say, hey, we do have this capability here, but we cannot do it all. That lets the organization, that let national know, hey, we might be able to produce it here in North Carolina, but we also can produce it here in South Carolina. So we can make all those widgets all together. Research and qualification. Oh, I don't went forward on this. I'm sorry. Timeline. It's not a long timeline to get into the program. It's basically just reaching out to us. It take us a couple of days to get you into the system, manufacturing North Carolina, and also for scouting is usually a 30-day process. Involved throughout. There's a lot of organizations and is simple inquiry. All inquiries are welcomed. This right here is an example of a request form right here. This is what we see come down from the national site right here for searching for scouting, but we use a Excel document when we're doing intake on this, and that way we can transfer the information directly over when we're trying to do a national search for organization here in North Carolina. It's going to give you the description, reasons, technical specifications, requirements, volume, packaging, and the time frame. Most scouting opportunities, the best ones are 30 days because that's allow everybody around the US to go out and scout for 30 days and basically come back either thumbs up or thumbs down on it. That gives a thorough search of the area. Anything that's less than 14 days, that's real hard to do because it doesn't allow the engineers or the technical experts to be able to find out if they can produce the materials or not. But it gives all the information and it's a real good form. It's a real good format because it tells a lot of information and it helps. If I send it out to your organization, it lets you know what the company is requesting and requiring to do. Next slide, please. Okay. You have opportunity types that comes down. We have seen everything come across the board. From this week, we had 3D printing, but we have had the sewn dog treat pouches. We had organic yarn. We have had circular sheet metal, excess valves for gas. We had a big gas project that came through where they were asking for valves, identification badges, but it's not limited, but it's a whole bunch of items that come through. It can be niche, but it can be also broad. The sectors that are covered in there is business to business and business to consumer. As we say, everything comes across. We have had co-packers engaged. We have had food items that come through, textiles, plastics. As I said earlier, emerging sectors like research and development and other areas that are trying to build and become a bigger part of the processes. Build America, Buy America Act, that is the big one, to get involved with the government agencies to support the American Production Act. Next slide, please.
There we go.
Okay.
And just to highlight what Eric was saying as well, we've seen everything. No request is too small, no request is too broad, no request is too large. We've seen pretty much everything at this point come through, and so it's never dull. And also to piggyback, oops, everything's very sensitive on my laptop now. I'm sorry. This program has been around for a year at this point, and it does work. As Eric was saying about that national supplier opportunity, it is working. So we have seen 260 supplier opportunities come out that we have responded to. And out of those, across the national network, there have been 1,700 possible matches, 1,700 manufacturers who have been identified who can either get pretty close to producing the item that's being requested, or who can exactly no changes needed. They could produce it right now. So that's like 6.5 manufacturers per opportunity. And those are just the manufacturers that we've been able to find. So we know that there are likely many, many more out there. So that right there shows that this really can work. We can do this. We can bolster the domestic supply chains within this country. And for North Carolina, we have made 8 exact matches, 15 partial matches. And we also have seen that people are very interested in this program. That even if when we first started sending out requests, we wouldn't hear back if someone wasn't interested or if they didn't have the capability. Now, however, we're starting to have responses that say, I can't do this, but please keep me in mind for future opportunities. Or also, I can't do it, but this company, this manufacturer 20 miles away might have the capacity or capability to do it. So please contact them. So, and we take all that information and we update it and keep it so that we can then reach out and keep them in mind when opportunities come down. And that's very exciting to us to see that the interest is increasing as manufacturers start to realize, this is a legitimate opportunity. And our program assesses the projects that come in. And so out of the ones that they have assessed, it has, on average, out of about 15 that have been assessed so far, it has led to $300,000 in new sales, which is likely underreported, and 10 jobs that have created or retained. So again, this process works, and it is generating sales. It is helping to maintain and to create new jobs. So Eric also mentioned our Manufacturer North Carolina. That is our online supplier database. It's been around since 2013, and that's the first place we start when we start making supplier matches. It's not the only source that we use, but it is the first place that we start. So what it is it's an online supplier database. We collect company profiles of manufacturers. We ask the manufacturers each company to please create their own profile, because we believe your company best and you can provide the information that's requested. It's not, it doesn't take a lot of time to fill out the profile, and we will go through and help make sure that the company is a legitimate company, that they do manufacture something in the state. You do not have to be headquartered in North Carolina. You just have to have a facility that manufactures something within the state. You don't even have to do only manufacturing. You could be primarily a retail organization, but if you make something, even if it's just a small percentage of your business, that counts, and you can enroll in the database as well. One area that differentiates our database is it's completely free to create a profile. It's completely open. We want it to be crawled by search engines, because the whole point of this is to make your company as visible as possible, as findable as possible to anyone who is searching for a certain item in North Carolina. You can search within the site, and you can also search in search engines. And a lot of times the profiles in Manufacturer North Carolina will rank higher than the company's own website. We also have the ability to receive inquiries and requests through the system, and we are working to match those as well. We also take a very hands-on personal approach. We're not going to say create your profile and then you never hear from us again. If you're having problems, if you have questions about your profile, if something isn't working, if someone who created your profile is no longer with the company and you'd like to change that, we will work with you to help make those changes, to help give you suggestions on what some of the areas the information collected might be, or how to optimize your profile. So we will be in touch with you, and we are very reachable. And again, I just want to emphasize, all the supplier searches begin in this database. So yes, okay. So for how it works, everything that you see on the left is the type of information that we collect. So we're going to collect information about the industry classification, the kind of capabilities that you have, the industries that you serve, the materials that you use. And the next one's a biggie: quality certifications. It is not easy to find what companies have what quality certifications. And so again, by letting those who are in this database indicate what quality certifications that they have, we have that information, and then that becomes searchable. You can search on one quality certification. You can search on multiple quality certifications. If it's important to you to find a supplier that's AS9100 and ISO 9001, you can search on that. And we're constantly refining that information around materials, around capabilities, around the certifications as well, to make sure that it stays up to date and relevant with how manufacturing continues to change and what needs are out there. We also have areas to collect information on special business certification. Are you women owned? Are you veteran owned? Hub zone? We collect that as well. Your export markets, where you can export, the county that it's in, and the congressional district that you're in. And all of this information becomes searchable. You can make your search as broad as you want, or you can make it as granular as you want. And then the results will be returned, and you can start looking through them and making matches. And this information also allows us to sort of visualize, who is in the state when it comes to manufacturing and where they're located, which is very important as companies move to North Carolina, because they want to see where's the supplier base and what can they do. And the visualization on the right shows you the kind of information that we can bring to economic developers, that we could bring to say, this is where these types of manufacturers are. Okay. So all of these resources are available on the North Carolina MEP site. And so it's organized around finding a supplier and becoming a supplier. We list this open supplier opportunities, and you can check that. It updates very, very frequently because we're always receiving new opportunities. If you have interest in becoming a supplier, maybe a current opportunity doesn't fit your needs, but you want to become a supplier, you can reach out to us as well. And we will also have those conversations with you about what kind of capacity you may have, with the type of volume you're looking for, what types of projects may work for you. And then as opportunities become available, we will make those available to you. So the takeaway from this is, first of all, this program, it's all about building and enhancing the domestic supply chains, and it is for the entire supply chain. We are not, we don't give preference to any specific sector or type of manufacturing. As long as you manufacture something, we will work with you on this. For partners, we have a variety of partners that help us make this work both locally and within North Carolina. On a regional basis within North Carolina, but also regionally in the nation, as well as national. Being part of the MEP National Network means that we are constantly able to reach out to our partners across the country and say, can you help us find someone who can do this? As well, this really is, it's no cost to you to do. It just takes a little bit of time for us to research and qualify, but this is what the program is meant to do. It's meant to help you fulfill any supplier needs or to help you become a supplier. And the ultimate purpose of it is to provide those business opportunities for North Carolina. We're happy to take the opportunities nationwide to make them available. Ultimately, we start with North Carolina, and we want to make sure that the business opportunities remain in North Carolina. So how you can participate. So first of all, if you do not have a profile in manufactured North Carolina, we ask you to please register and enter your information in MNC, or if you have a profile already, update your profile and make sure that the information is as current, because the searches that we do, they're dependent on the information that is entered. And again, if you have any problems accessing your profile, we're happy to help you with that. As well, you can contact your regional manager. You can also submit on the NCMEP site on the resources. You could submit the supplier request form, and we will follow up with you as well. You can also check out the list of open opportunities, and you can let us know if you think that there's one that fits your needs. We will, of course, be working on our end as well to identify companies who might do that as well. And just help us spread the word. We've discovered that word of mouth is one of the best ways to get the message out about this program and about the capabilities. And so, again, maybe you don't have a current supplier need, but you know someone who does. Make sure that they know about this program and that there are resources to help them. So next we're going to move to Q&A, but before we do, Susan encouraged you to put your questions in chat or Q&A, but before we move to that section, I did want to highlight that we have an upcoming event in October. It comes around every year. I want to think that we're getting into the 13th or 14th year that this has been held. Manufacturing Day, it's an annual event. The official day for Manufacturing Day is October 4th. This year, it's always the first Friday in October, but what it's sort of become is Manufacturing Month. And so Even though the day is October 4th, if you can't, for whatever reason, participate on October 4th, events are scheduled throughout the month. And the whole point of Manufacturing Day is to celebrate manufacturing, but also to show what modern manufacturing careers look like. What does it look like inside a facility? That we want the upcoming workforce and students and their parents and anyone involved in education to know that manufacturing is a great career. It's a great industry. The jobs do not look like what they used to or what you might think they used to, that they're very cutting edge and there's a diversity of skills needed. And so we encourage you, if you're interested, to host an event, to open up your facility and let students and teachers and guidance counselors and their parents come in and see what you do. Or you can find an event as they get registered, and that will start to pick up very, very soon, since October seems like it's in about 5 minutes. And Susan's going to send out all of this information in the follow-up email to you. But we just wanted to put this on your radar that it is coming up in the next few months. And if you're so interested, we would love to see you host an event, and we can help provide further information on that. So Susan, do we have any Q&A?
Thank you, Kian. I'm going to go ahead and pause our recording.